Table Talk again. We're doing music. We invite you here for the second segment where we have a musical battle royal. We're going to find out which songs are laid out best by myself, Stan Deatherage, or Dave from down east. So, you want to go first?
Sure.
Or do you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first this time, I think.
Okay, I'll go first this time. Let me see. You want to do rock and roll?
Let's do rock and roll.
Okay, we're going to do rock and roll blues. And I've done two songs today. And both of them were 1970 and maybe 1971. We did, I did Your Song by Elton John. Then I did The Wait by the band. Now I'm going to do another song from 1971. And it could be from 1970. Hit or miss. You can judge yourself. But it's from one of my favorite bands of all time. And you're going to have a hard time beating this one. You really are. It's actually one of my favorite rock and roll songs of all time, from one of my favorite bands of all time. A band that many of you have no idea who they are because they weren't very successful. They had a lot of good members. In fact, one of the members of the band was Eric Clapton. And he was playing with this band during his heyday. In fact, he changed his name from Eric to Derek. And the name of the band is Derek and the Dominoes. And the guitar player from the band is Duane Allman from the Allman Brothers. And of course, when you have Duane Allman and then you've got Eric Clapton playing guitar on the same song at the same time, and a host of singers, Bobby Whitlock, and sang right along with Eric on most of the songs. In fact, this first song I'm going to bring to you, this song was written by Eric Clapton and Bobby Whitlock. So I think you'll like it. My favorite rock and roll song of all time. And I think a lot of you out there will understand it. It's Why Does Love Have to Be So Sad?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can hide my lonely place. I'm only gonna break my heart if I let you. What does love got to be so sad? 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 Like a moth to a flame, like a song without a name. I've never been this same since I met you. Like a bird on the wing. Keep on singing about you. Hey, what does love got to be so sad? What does love got to be so sad? What does love got to be so sad? What does love got to be so sad?
Pause. That's some heavy rock and roll guitar. And you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but not one note is wasted.
No.
And they're playing it really fast. So that's Duane playing against Eric Clapton. And it's just heavenly. It's beauty to my ears.
It is. The instruments really make the song.
They really do.
Even more so than the lyrics or the vocals.
Well, yeah. Well, the lyrics are pretty cool, but
the lyrics are great. But
the vocals are somewhat discordant and maybe in some small way unharmonic, but I think they're meant to be that way. Just keep listening, and there's a method to the madness of the unharmonic vocals. It just fits. You'll see it by the end.
got to be so sad? What has love got to be so sad? What has love got to be so sad? What has love got to be so sad?
I didn't set this up properly. The name of the album is Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. And this song particularly is a song written by Eric Clapton with Bobby Whitlock's help to a girlfriend that he wanted real bad. And they were friends. And he fell in love with her. There was just one problem. The girl he fell in love with was George Harrison, his best friend's wife.
That's a problem.
and this is George Harrison from the Beatles. If any of y'all know anything about the Beatles, George Harrison, the late George Harrison, who played with the Traveling Wilburys.
Yes.
He was married to Pattie Boyd, and they were in deep love. And for some reason, Eric Clapton fell in love with her. And you remember the song "While My Guitar Gently Weeps"?
Oh, yes.
Well, you know, Eric Clapton played lead on that song, and when you hear the guitar at the end, he's playing that weeping part of the guitar. So I think they knew each other, but maybe he thought about that love he had for Pattie Boyd even back then in 1968 when that album started. But he's always had this thing for Pattie Boyd. And the irony of the situation, for those of you that don't understand or know what I'm talking about, because this is rather arcane rock and roll history, was that he eventually won Pattie Boyd over and married Pattie Boyd, and they had a very short marriage. So I guess that's the personification of why does love have to be so sad? It just didn't work on any level between he and Pattie and George. But it is a great song, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It's classic rock. It's definitely guitar heavy. That's what you expect.
Yeah.
Really is a classic.
Yeah, the guitar is special. Two of the great guitarists of all time.
Oh, yes.
Dual guitarists just playing it out. I just love it. I love the underlaying guitar, and one would play lead, and then the other would go, and I think Dwayne would do some slide, and then Eric would play lead on top of that.
Right.
It was interesting how they worked that out. That whole last segment of the song, probably half of it, was a guitar solo.
Yes.
And I didn't want to rock out too much in front of the audience, but I have been known to rock out pretty hard on that song. But enough about me, enough about Derek and the Dominoes, enough about Patty Boyd and Eric and George, enough about Layla and other assorted love songs. Let's talk about you and the band you want to present.
Sure. So, interestingly enough, we've got a tie-in to the band that I picked. This is a older song. This takes us back to 1989, 88 time frame. The Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, the
So,
Traveling Wilburys.
George
Cool.
Harrison,
I didn't know
this-
you were going to bring them up.
George Harrison. This was his really brainchild. This was his band. He really wanted to bring together, and it really is a mega band. Might be
Yes.
the biggest mega band of all time. You've got
I would
George
have to agree with
Harrison,
that.
Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, and they come together and create an album that's just magical.
Yeah, let's talk about the band for a minute. All those members of the band. Okay, the first one you mentioned, Tom Petty.
Yes,
Love Tom Petty. Tom Petty wrote simple music,
simple music, straight out of Florida.
wrote great words, sang it well, straight out of Florida. A lot of people, I used to think he sounded like Roger McGuinn when he first got started, and a little bit about like Bob Dylan, who Roger McGuinn sounded like a little bit. And then who was the second one you mentioned?
There's Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. Now, I started listening to Bob Dylan when I was 8 years old.
Singer-songwriter. I mean,
I love Bob Dylan, and I just still listen to Bob Dylan, and I've played about 10 Bob Dylan songs on the guitar, and I don't sing like Bob Dylan. My wife she won't stay in the house with me if I try to sing like Bob Dylan. I have to sing like Stan. But I love the music. You can use your voice with the Bob Dylan song.
Yes.
And it comes out really well. Bob Dylan's great. And simple songs. Very simple lyrics. No, very complicated lyrics. A lot of lyrics in his songs. But very simple chording arrangements. Not more than about 4 to 5 chords in any song. Maybe 6 at most. And I love Bob Dylan in his electric phase. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, when he went electric, we weren't going to have anything to do with him. I mean, people protested Bob Dylan when he was a beatnik, played for the beatnik. He wasn't a beatnik. Well, maybe kind of was. Yeah, and back in the days of, what's that music? It's one of my least favorite types of music, the American folk music.
Right.
Yeah, period. I'm not crazy about it. And it's very simple, and you know, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, you know, and blowing in the wind. It's not my favorite songs.
It's kind of slow.
No,
Some of
kinda
it's kind of depressing.
slow. Got
Sometimes
it,
it's
yeah.
just
Terrible. But when he did Blonde on Blonde with Just Like a Woman and songs like that, and just went on and with some of the other songs, Blood on the Tracks. I just love those albums.
Oh yes, and it's interesting how a little change in an artist will impact the fans. You talked about Bob Dylan going electric.
And the band playing with Bob Dylan.
And the band playing with Bob Dylan. But with Metallica, when they cut their hair, there was so much public outcry. They're not metal anymore. They're not rock. They cut their hair. And it was just simple things. The music was still just as good.
Maybe better.
Maybe better.
You can see better. And the third member of the band.
Third member, Jeff Lynne.
Jeff Lynne. Jeff Lynne is one of my personal favorites. Let me tell you why. Jeff Lynne was in a band called The Move years ago, and I'm going to bring one of their songs out in a future show that we do. And it's very eclectic. Jeff Lynne started with The Move, playing a lot of different instruments, and they wanted to emulate the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles had very recent to The Move, because The Move was in the very early 70s, like 70, 71, and they were together only for a few years, but I bought most of all their albums. I really like The Move. And then he did the Electric Light Orchestra, which was pretty cool. Songs like Mr. Blue, it's kind of a cool song. I like that. And then Roy Orbison.
Roy Orbison, classic.
Great voice.
I mean, great voice.
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Oh, boy.
The songs, everything he had. You're a great musician. And
Great
then,
musician.
And then, of course, George Harrison, the Beatles.
Oh.
And, the mastermind behind this band to begin with.
Yeah, George Harrison was such a cool guy.
He was.
Very spiritual. He just grew in the Beatles. He was like 18 or 19 when he was in the Beatles. He was the youngest Beatle. And he just grew. He became a better guitar player as the band got better and better and better, and started writing songs himself. And, God bless him. Paul and John didn't really like him writing songs. They didn't. And they treated him terribly. I saw a documentary on the Beatles, and Daggone, George is getting the short shrift there, man.
I always thought that Ringo might have had it the worst, but
Yeah, he did have it the worst, and he deserved
he
it.
did.
I mean, I think somebody asked.
George got it undeservedly, I'd say, to some extent.
You remember somebody asked John Lennon, they said, do you think that Ringo Starr is like the greatest drummer of all time? And he said, hey, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. So he had it pretty bad. And he said that on tape. And it got recorded. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Traveling Wilburys. They had one album.
They had one album that was really big that came out, and they called it Volume 1.
Yeah.
George Harrison had originally intended on producing multiple albums. And after the success of the first album, Roy Orbison had passed away, and so they had what they called Volume 3. They skipped Volume 2, and they released Volume 3 about 1991 time frame, and it didn't have as much success. And then the band just split ways, and all the different band members tended to collaborate with one another on solo projects, but the band as a whole just went away. It was really that first album that was their best.
It was good.
It was good.
It was outstanding. I have it, bought it, and I listen to all the songs. I love it. Okay, who sings lead on this one?
I don't even remember, Matt, to be honest. I'd have to.
You want to listen to tell
listen
me?
to it. I was going to say, let's look
If you don't
at
tell
it
me,
and-
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, because I honestly don't remember on this song who sings the lead. I wanted to say it was George, but they all kick in and take different pieces. So.
Well, I know those. I know each of their voices, so I'll let you
yes.
know.
So
If you don't let me know first, okay. You pause or I'll pause.
sounds good.
I'm gonna give you a minute.
That'll work.
All right.
Sounds good. So let's take a look at it.
Well, it's alright, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's alright, if you live the life you please. Well, it's alright, doing the best you can. Well, it's alright, as long as you lend a hand.
You can sit around and wait for the phone to ring, waiting for someone to tell you everything. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Maybe a diamond ring.
Well, it's alright, even if they say you're wrong. Well, it's alright, sometimes you gotta be strong. Well, it's alright, as long as you got someone to lay. Well, it's alright, every day is Judgment Day.
Maybe somewhere down the road away, you'll think of me and wonder where I am these days. Maybe somewhere down the road when somebody plays Purple Haze.
Well, it's alright, even when push comes to shove. Well, it's alright, if you got someone to love. Well, it's alright, everything will work out fine. Well, it's alright, we're going to the end of the line.
I'm going to pause it right there for a minute, and we can see that there's all the different folks contributing. But I can remember I was a 10-year-old. I was in 5th grade when this album came out. I have the cassette tape, date myself. And Roy Orbison passing, I can remember hearing the news, and I was just heartbroken. He was just such one of my favorite musicians. And what I really love about this video is for folks who watch it, the way that they paid tribute to him, the other members of the band, because he had passed before this video came out, is you see his photograph and his guitar in a rocking chair, and that's the only parts you see of Roy Orbison in this video.
You know, I haven't
And the
heard his
rocking
voice
chair-
one time.
The rocking chair rocks, so when you hear his voice in the song,
wow.
all we see is his either his photograph or a picture of his guitar rocking in the rocking chair
I
with the
thought
rest
I heard
of
him
the band.
singing backup a
So
little
he
bit.
sings backup
He
in
is
this.
singing backup,
But
he
we don't-
doesn't do a lead.
But he doesn't do a lead, and we don't see him in the video because he had already passed.
George started off with the lead. Then Tom Petty did lead. Then Jeff Lynne did lead.
They all-
Then it came back to Tom Petty again. Now Jeff Lynne's done lead again on a verse. And it's a great song.
Great song.
It is a great song. You got a good one here.
So
I'm still going to fight you.
let's go back and finish the video and take a look.
Don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. I'm just glad to be here, happy to be alive. And it don't matter if you're by my side. I'm satisfied. Well, it's alright, even if you're old and gray. Well, it's alright. You still got something to say. Well, it's alright. Remember to live and live. Well, it's alright. The best you can do is forgive. Well, it's alright. Riding around on the breeze. Well, it's alright. If you live the life you please. Well, it's alright. Even if the sun don't shine. Well, it's alright. We're going to the end of the line.
Outstanding. It's a great song. All right, Rolling Stones.
and I can pause it.
You know what song that's going to be?
Wild Horses.
Yeah, I knew that. Those first few notes, Wild Horses. I do that song. Everybody plays guitar has got to play Wild Horses.
Talking
man.
about another great rock band.
Yeah, we're going to do some Rolling Stones for us all.
Oh yes, absolutely.
It's kind of crazy. We're both political guys. We know politics pretty well. We know governing. We know history pretty well, both of us. And I think that's one of the reasons we get along so well. We have a lot of joint knowledge on things. But we like music. Isn't that crazy? We like rock and roll.
Music's universal. It transcends, all kinds of boundaries.
Yeah. Hey, even us ex-hippies that grow up to be conservative Republicans, we like rock and roll from our time and like it from now too when it's good.
Absolutely.
Great. So let's talk about the band. I really like hearing that song. That song is a song that takes me back to, I remember my children were in their formative years, and I think my last baby was born. No, she hadn't even been born yet when we were listening to that song. And my other three children had to listen to that song as we rode up and down the road. It's one of our few cassette tapes we had.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And I made songs. I'd take some of their songs and split them on there and put them on there. It was great. Bob Dylan got to sing a little bit of the backup.
A little bit.
Guitar, I couldn't see exactly up here for everybody to see, but guitar I think was mostly George. Was it George?
I think it was mostly George.
It was mostly George.
I know Tom Petty was playing bass for the song.
He was playing
Yes.
bass? Okay, cool. He was a drummer.
I can't remember who the drummer was.
Yeah.
I don't know. And honestly, I don't even know if they had a full-time drummer in the band or if they just had other folks to fill in. I'll have to look that up. That's a good question.
Yeah. The next one I do, this band didn't even have a drum, so it's going to be really unique. Well, let's go. Okay, let's fight.
It's going to be a tough one. I would say both bands have powerhouse members.
Yeah.
Definitely yours, classic rock. It's
Classic.
got all the elements. It's got the guitars. It's got the speed. It's got the tempo, the rhythm.
It's a unique song.
It's a unique song. It's definitely a rock song. Traveling Wilburys, powerhouse group.
Great vocals.
Lot of great vocals.
Great vocals.
The song's not quite as powerful from a rock perspective. It's a little bit more laid back, but certainly be hard pressed to say most of those members of that band weren't rock icons in and of themselves. So.
I love George Harrison from the Beatle fame. I love Jeff Lynne from the Move fame, and to a little lesser extent, Electric Light Orchestra. Getting a little tongue tied, and. I really like Tom Petty. I've always loved Tom. Well, I grew to love Tom Petty. I've noticed that his songs are simple, maybe 4 or 5 chords in the truth, but he was a great songwriter in the words he wrote, and he delivered them so well. He was. If you listen to him and you say, "Is that a trained voice or not?" Probably not. but he sang it so well and so much from his heart. And so many of his songs were popular because of that.
I agree. Tom Petty, for me, he was an acquired taste.
Yeah, me
You know,
too.
I
Yeah.
was exposed to him for the first time through the Wilburys.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, really?
But it was listening to his music after that, and what he came out with in his solo career after the Wilburys is arguably even more famous than he was prior to the Wilburys, depending on what you look at. Mary Jane's Last Dance, some of those songs that come out. So great guy again. Probably not a trained voice, but just his ability to perform, his ability to write and put that emotion into the music is all there.
Even though he did sound like Roger McGuinn of the Byrds to a large extent, his songs had different moods, different tempos, different messages, very dissimilar, like the Beatles in a lot of respect. The Beatles songs sound very dissimilar from one another, and so Tom was great. I'm gonna ask you on this one. Let's declare a draw.
I think that's
Is
fair.
that okay?
I think that's fair.
I mean, we got Eric Clapton and Dwayne Allman and one of the greatest love songs of all time.
Oh,
and
yes.
Off one of the greatest albums of all time, at least in Stan's estimation. And this, I love this song. We declare
I think that's a draw.
Draw.
I think it's
Draw.
too close to call.
draw. Too close to call, man. Okay, I'm going to go first on the next one.
That'll work.
Now we're moving into a very eclectic range of music, something that I've come to love here recently in the last couple of years. I come from an era where it's greatly considered the greatest music of the last 100 years, maybe longer. It's the 60s and 70s. And, of course, we had disco in the 70s, and that kind of ruined a lot of it. But... and I hated disco. And I would not go to disco clubs. And I would go and travel around and go to bluegrass festivals. And I'd hear Doc Watson and Merle Watson and Mother Maybelle Carter and a lot of them. And for these old folks singing disco and playing disco, and excuse me, bluegrass, playing bluegrass. And they sang from the heart. That's whereas disco was just fake. It reminded me of the hair. Guys would have their hair curled and they'd wear their hair long and do a lot of drugs and stuff. And I'd go to these bluegrass festivals and there'd be a lot of hippies there. And they might be smoking a little pot every now and then, but it was pretty calm. And I liked that. And I loved the music. So as I got older, I couldn't find music I liked. I love Dave Matthews and I love Jewel and I love some other great musicians along the way, but I couldn't find that band that really sent me. And what I found, well, of course, I love Alison Krauss and Union Station. And what I found when I was listening to Amazon Music on Prime, I plugged in Alison Krauss and Union Station, and I think I went with Jerry Douglas, who's a member of that band, who plays the dobro, who's a fabulous dobro player, plays every bit as well a dobro as Eric Clapton plays a guitar, or Dwayne Allman plays a guitar. And I found this band. They kind of popped up. And first band I found was Nickel Creek. Did not know who Nickel Creek was. You were familiar with Nickel Creek long before I was. And I fell in love with Nickel Creek. 3 members of the band, and it was Chris Thiele, who's kind of like the leader of the band, but then you have the siblings, Sean and Sarah Watkins, and they're in the band, and they're fabulous. I love them. They write a lot of music that's very much like the Beatles, very dissimilar in mood and tone and tempo, and they play bluegrass instruments. And they can make all grades of different music, different genres with bluegrass instruments. They play flat notes, they play all kinds of notes, they play majors, minors, and the next thing you know, they've come out with something very unique and original, and they write most of all the music, or they'll do some original stuff. Every now and then they'll do something they find that's some arcane music that's laying around, and I loved it. Well, Chris Thiele, arguably the leader of the band, because he sings lead on most of the songs, he plays a tremendous mandolin. He started a band called the Punch Brothers in 2006. Okay, 2006. I don't need to go that far back, For some of our viewers, 19 sounds like a long time ago. For me, I was born about the middle part of it. It didn't seem that long ago. But 2006, he started the Punch Brothers. And a lot of the musicians are from New York and Massachusetts, and Chris Thiele's from California. That kind of came together, and they all play bluegrass music, but they play all these different genres. So they're going to play one of my favorite songs of right now, and I would argue that it's the perfect song, and my wife loves this song, and sometimes I'll sing it to her when she's in bed. She likes me to do it, calms her down, keeps me calm too. But it's called Julep, and it's by the Punch Brothers, and it's live.
I died happy in my sleep. I died happy in my sleep. Our children around and you looking down from heaven's julep on the porch. Heaven's julep on the porch. You and me rocking down 5 o'clock is tick tick talking to time we used to wind it. She brought the sugar and the mint. She brought the sugar and the mint. And he brought the whiskey, asked for my blessing. Yes, sir, I know she's heaven's julep on the porch. Heaven's julep on the porch. You and me rocking down 5 o'clock, just tick tick talking to time we used to wind it.
I'm going to pause. I want you to listen to all the instruments that come together softly, slowly, but perfectly in union with each song. You're going to watch this banjo player set the mood for the rest of the song. And I'm going to ask you to pre-listen to Gabe Witcher, the fiddle player. Watch how he sets the mood as well. And the vocals on this song is just fantastic.
Oh, yes.
If you want this to rock, they're not a rock band, although they can rock. I mean, they all play real fast and real well anytime they want to. But this is a love song, and it's a lot of metaphorical messages in this song. So, I ask the audience to listen confidently, quietly, and respectfully.
Now the time stands still. We can drink our fill out of silver that will never vanish like we will. You weren't just the girl that I should meet. You were the girl that I would meet for drinks in the backyard, a beautiful daughter, lifetimes of summer and love ever after. I died happy in my sleep. I died happy in my sleep. Our children around and you looking down from heavens of julep on the porch. Heavens of julep on the porch. You and me rocking, grandfather clock is tick, 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 talking to the time we used to wind it. Got the time we used to wind it. Oh, it's tick, 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 talking to the time we used to wind it.
All right. That's what I consider the perfect song.
That one's good. It's it brings all the instruments together.
Yeah.
The way they work together. It's a good song. And
Extremely harmonic.
it is, and it's subtle to some extent.
Very,
how
very
kind of-
subtle, very subtle. Gives you a chance to think about the words a little bit. I mean, tick, 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 tock into the time we used to wind it, you know? Think about it, you know. I died happy in my sleep. I died happy in my sleep. My children around me, and you looking down from heaven. Juleps. Yeah, I forgot. Well, you get it. Julep.
Oh yes,
It's all about julep.
right.
But there's a lot of metaphors in the song, and we are not everlasting, and we better. This is what I got from the song. We better do the very best we can to make things concrete, to make it last while we're here, and leave something. And maybe that would be just the good feelings and of honesty and humor.
That's right.
But it's just a wonderful song to me.
It really is. It's and it ties in with, you know, we talk about bluegrass. I think of bluegrass as a, you know, authentic American type of music, but
Very
we
much
see
so.
folks from everywhere that are interested in it. We see folks from everywhere who are playing it and coming on the stage, and it's a genre that's been around for years. I think the longer it's been around, the more popularity that it's starting to gain, and as far as, you know, the population as a whole. It's what mostly people used to think this was probably just what people played in the mountains, and that was the only place you would ever hear it, is or, you know, on the old records back in the 20s and 30s when radio was first getting started. But it really is something that just stands the test of time, and the lyrics, the feeling, all of that, I think people can really draw from that. They can relate to it. I think it's a very interesting genre, and it's an important genre for that reason.
The music is centuries old.
Yes.
The style. This is folk music from Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, mostly. And a lot of you that understand history, and you'll be able to speak to this, when America was discovered and populated by Western Europeans, the English came and set up the colonies here. It was the Lord Proprietors were in charge and set up like North Carolina and South Carolina, Virginia, which was the first Commonwealth in the United States, and the rest of them were states except for Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, I believe. So North Carolina was settled, and the Scots and the Irish came in, mainly Boston and up the James River, and they wanted to get away from the English.
That's right.
Just as fast as they could. So they went and took land that nobody else wanted, which was the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. And then they made their way down into North Carolina mountains, which were bigger and really rugged mountains. And nobody wanted any part of that. So they mainly settled in North Carolina. And they got up in those big North Carolina mountains and they hid. They hid well. And then they moved in West Virginia and wherever they could go and set up clans to protect themselves. Yes. So they took their clan life from Europe, brought it here, and they created a community where they would have protection from the English. And the English were pretty hardcore sons of bees.
They were, and we see how that influence has still exists today, and how that impacted the American culture. What we see in the mountain culture compared to what we see in other parts of the country, we really do see that clannish. Throughout history, the Hatfields and the McCoys, all of these different things. It all stems from the original folks who came over and settled those areas.
And the instruments, bluegrass instruments, are the most unique instruments. I mean, dobro and bass fiddle. I mean, you see how he was playing it with a bow, and just getting that nice sound. I mean, this is not a cello. No. I mean, you can't play bass on a cello, but you can bow a bass fiddle if you know how to do it. And then that fiddle sounded like a violin to me. And then the banjo player playing almost a percussion type sound there that took it into a certain mood. And that is such a cool thing. The mandolin,
yes,
which is like lead guitar for a lot of bands. And then the guitar, Chris Eldridge, who's the guitar player in that band. He's playing a very simple part, but it's a very hard part to play because it has to be played perfectly in time. All the music in that song has to be perfectly timed. It's the syncopatic motion of that song is complete harmony and union. So I love the song, and there are many other Punch Brothers songs we're going to go into later. I'll probably pull them up again.
But yeah, no, that's a good one. It really is.
Thank you.
Well, now we've been talking about bluegrass. We'll go to something that's a slightly kind of different take on it. It is bluegrass, and we mentioned, I think of it as a kind of a traditional American type of music, even though it has its roots overseas. And but the next band is called the Dead South, and they're actually from Canada. So it's a bluegrass. This band was formed in 2012, and I wasn't exposed to them until last year. My children actually turned me on to them, so I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with them. But to me, they're a little eclectic. They have kind of just a weird kind of a character, like they portray themselves differently in their music videos. So we'll take a look at this one. This one's called "In Hell I'll Be in Good Company." I hope that I don't have to go there, and I hope that whatever company I keep won't put me there. But
I'll try not to lead you astray.
So that's the name of this song, and we'll take a look at it.
stage smells, tells, hells, bells, misspells, knocks me on my knees. It didn't hurt, flirt, blood, squirt, stuff, shirt like me on a tree. After I count down 3 rounds in hell, I'll be in good company. Down low, couldn't go no further. Proud of and disgusted by her. Push on a little bruised and battered. Oh Lord, I ain't coming home with you. My life's a bit more colder. Dead wife feels what I told her. Brass knife sinks to my shoulder. Oh babe, don't know what I'm gonna do. I see my redhead mess, red tear shed, cream beam a squeeze. The stage smells, tells, hells, bells, misspells, knocks me on my knees. It didn't hurt, flirt, blood, squirt, stuff, shirt like me on a tree. After I count down 3 rounds in hell, I'll be in good company. And I'll be in good company. And I'll be in good company.
So that one I think is a little bit different. It's kind of repetitive, but I think just the eclectic look that the band has and the singing that they do. Vocals, you know, they're a little bit rougher, I think, than I would normally think of sometimes. But the very intro to the song reminds me of something you see a lot of, like an old spaghetti western, with the whistling and the way that they kind of just bring that in. It reminds me, not necessarily the good, bad, and the ugly, but, you know, something similar to that.
I liked
They
it.
worked on it, so.
I liked it. I liked the edgy outlaw bluegrass feel of the band with the 2 Mennonites in the middle.
Right.
That was a nice touch. And the vocals I thought were fine. I thought it fit the music quite well. It was lyrically probably good. Melodically it was repetitive, but and they only had 2 instruments going the whole time, but it worked fine. I mean, it hit a clippity clop of the horse out on the prairie, or making its way through the passes of the mountains in a good western.
Right. Oh yes, and it's interesting. Like I said, Canadian band.
Yeah.
They're kind of like a garage band is how they formed, and so they were looking to do more of a rock kind of feel. And I think if his voice is kind of a rock kind of a feel to his voice, more so than
one of the
bluegrass,
Mennonites,
but-
both
right,
Mennonites,
both
yeah.
Mennonites. But
Yeah.
but I think it works. It's and it's kind of new. It's kind of a new take on the genre. But so far, I've been kind of impressed with what they do.
Could I be wrong? Could they be more Amish-like?
They probably could.
Yeah.
And
I like the band. I'm actually going to look for some of their music. I really am, and I'm gonna look that up and see what I can find. I liked it. I thought it was good. It's like it takes you to a different place and kind of gives you that feeling. I mean, it's kind of rough and gruff Ennio Morricone type
right. Oh yes.
music. You want to fight it out?
Think we can fight it out.
All right, let's fight it out. I'm gonna stick with the cool softness and melodic intricacies of the Punch Brothers, and I don't think you can beat Punch Brothers.
I really don't think you can. I think when you look at the instruments that are played,
Yes.
the how efficient they are, how talented they are, it just really works, and it takes you to everything that you would need to look for in the genre, from the music to the vocals to the timing. It's just a different. I mean, they're at a different level. They are definitely the professionals at what they do.
They are extreme musical professionals, but these guys are fun.
These guys are fun. These are the guys I think of. These are the guys you want to see in a concert. You want to go and people watch the crowd. You want to see what they're going to do on stage. They're going to surprise you somehow.
Oh, they're
Something's going to happen.
People are going to dance, and I guarantee they all play instruments, right?
Oh yes, they do.
What,
And
the two Amish guys in the middle, what do they play?
I think mandolin and guitar. Are
really?
their primary, if I remember correctly. But and a lot of their videos are very similar to this. They kind of keep that same dress, and it's just their look and feel. And
I thought it was kind of cool.
It's kind of like the Bluegrass Blues Brothers.
Waiting around in the pool.
Yes, and the little dance, and they bring in things. So it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say, from purely looking at it from what we think of classic bluegrass, just the being able to check all the boxes. Punch Brothers.
Yeah, you can't. I mean,
you can't. It's hard to beat them.
And it's a different genre. It's a very eclectic genre. It's they play any type of notes, flat, majors, minors. It don't matter. They're gonna float out a song. Every song is gonna be a little bit different, and then they play a lot of traditional songs where they just bear down and just play just as fast as they can and see who gets through the finish line first, which is what bluegrass is all about sometimes.
That's right.
Well, I think we enjoyed ourselves today.
I certainly did. It's been a good opportunity to sit down, listen to some music, some things we've heard before, some we haven't, and be able to share that with everybody else.
We've had a musical battle royal. We've hit it pretty hard, and yet neither one of us are bleeding.
That's right.
We may have some inner wounds, but we can deal with that, can't we?
We can survive that.
We're full-grown men.
That's right. It takes a lot to hurt my skin.
Yeah, me too. It's an inch thick on both of our hides.
That's right.
Well, it's been a good day. It's been a good day, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good night and a good rest of your life. This is Table Talk signing off, and we will see you again in our next segment of Musical Battle Royal. We'll call it something else next time. You'll come up with something.
We'll come up with it. We'll come up with something
a different title. There'll be multiple titles that we will do going forward, and at some point we will settle on something, and then we'll probably just change it again. Well, goodbye. Say goodbye, Dave.
Take care. See you next time.
And a brand new show.